Hey kids, today we finally have the ranking of the Dark Souls 2 bosses. Now Dark Souls 2 has a lot of really awful bosses. We're going to be talking about all of them today. And just like I said in my Dark Souls 3 video, I don't own the DLC, so there's none of that in there sadly. There's no Sarah Lon, there's no, what's his face? Few Knight, all the other terrible bosses in the DLC. So coming in at number 27 is what I consider the worst boss in the whole series. The Old Iron King, or as I'm calling him today, the Old Iron Dick. My only positive about this boss is that you finally get to leave what I believe is the worst area in the game. And in the whole series. The Iron Keep. That area is just terrible. For all the reasons that Dark Souls areas are normally terrible. It forces you to do platforming. There's too many enemies. Enemies are too tough. They're too fast. It's just bad. And so is the boss. My only positive is that it ends the area, as I just said. And his design is actually pretty cool. His attacks are boring. You don't know which one it is most of the time. And the arena. Way too small. And on New Game Plus, he becomes even tougher. And most of his slams come with, like, some kind of fireball. It's so bad, but... Anyway, coming in the second boss, is the Belfry Gargoyles. This completely craps on the Bell Gargoyles fight from Dark Souls 1. Because unlike this boss, that was a great boss fight. Maybe a little bit hard for its point in the game, but it's still really fun. This boss, no. No. Absolute garbage. For a start, there's 5 of them. And unlike in the original game, where it's on a, we have to get the first one down to, what, a third health. It's just like all 5 of them pretty much right off the bat. And they have the exact same moveset from the original game. So yes, bottom line is, terrible boss. Now, we have the Duke's Dear Freya. Why did they make this thing a Lord Soul boss? In Dark Souls 3, most of the best bosses are the Lord Soul bosses. We've already had 2 Lord Soul bosses, which is just insulting. So, Duke's Dear Freya. Again, it ends a terrible area, so I suppose that's clouding my judgment a little bit. No, probably a lot, actually. And just like everything that's in the bottom 5, the mechanics are bad, the attacks are bad. And the fact that you have to hit her here, rather than literally anywhere else, at first sounds like a cool little gimmick, you know, bit of extra added difficulty because there's only one spot that takes damage. But given how much this thing moves around, that gets really difficult. And having her constantly respawn spiders, oh man, that gets annoying. Now, I'm someone who really hates spiders, so I suppose that also gets in the way. And as someone who likes to do New Game Plus, the amount of damage this thing does on New Game Plus is through the roof. And the spiders get tougher. Anyway. Keep hearing banging noises. I think this thing's knocking on the door. Now we have the Ruined Sentinels. Fun fact, this was actually the boss that I died to the most in my first playthrough. Don't ask why. Again, they're all the same. It ends an area that's actually pretty decent, so I suppose it does get the leg up on the other, 3 bosses we've mentioned so far. What does really bring it down, though, is that it's not a very well balanced fight. All 3 of them are exactly the same. to do a gank boss right, they all need to be different. Oh, except for maybe the Abyss Watchers. That actually works extremely well. But unlike the Abyss Watchers, this boss is awful. We did get a pretty cool OST though, which actually repeats on a couple of bosses and fits quite well. Oh, the spinning attack. Ooh. So goddamn frustrating, and you pretty much can't avoid it. And sometimes both of them will do it at the same time. Lucky that I repeated run-throughs, playthroughs rather. This boss is ridiculously easy. Now we have the Demon of Song. Again, finishes a terrible area. I'll probably do top 10 worst areas in the series. And that is, of course, the Shrine of Amana, which is probably right next to the Iron Keep for the worst area in the whole series. If the area wasn't so bad, it would probably go up maybe 2 or 3 spots. Again, on repeated playthroughs, this boss is pretty damn brutal. On playthrough 1, it is fairly easy. Another thing that holds it back is, of course, when it wraps whatever that is around its head. It can do that for like a pretty indefinite amount of time, and then jump attacks. Hitbox is terrible, and it does so much damage. Yep, that pretty much addresses the Demon of Song. Another terrible boss in a game that's filled with them. But one, okay, this is already 3 out of 4 Lord Soul bosses. The last one is what? Number 3 on my list. Okay, that's really good actually. So the run again ends a pretty bad area, which is of course the Black Gulch. Which, given how easy I find it is to skip it, it's an area I don't hate as much as the rest of the community. It's still a pretty bad area though. The run though. Mainly this load because his attacks aren't very interesting. They're all pretty much exactly the same. You know, just stabbing his cleaver, which you can't see. And on repeated runs, it gets dark magic. Why? Although his hitboxes normally aren't that bad. Can still use a bit of work though, just like almost every single boss in this damn game. Yeah, that pretty much addresses the run. Alright, my active debate for Queen. Definitely maybe a slight jump in quality. Again, it's a terrible area. Just like a lot of bosses in this game. On repeated runs, it's actually not that bad. Because I don't think she adds any new attacks. No. Oh, some of the attacks are pretty annoying though. I think she does that magic spell where she pretty much vomits magic. Much like I said with the Ruined Sentinel spinning attack, you pretty much can't avoid it. At least I don't know how to avoid it. And the hitboxes on magic are really, really bad. So next we have Guardian Dragon. Boss that probably most people would have lower. I have it at 20 out of 27 because it's just not a very annoying boss. It's generally very easy because he's got barely any health and it's pretty much a game. Alright, that was another banging noise. Never mind that. It's probably windy outside. Yeah, so it's at the end of the game, which makes it extremely easy to kill. I think I've already died to this thing maybe 2 or 3 times. Although one thing, this is probably the first, maybe second boss of the list. It's very dependent on RNG. Like you get some fights where you stay on the ground the whole time, and other fights where you just want to fly, shoot fireballs at you. Lucky that attack, it's pretty easy to dodge. You just have to stand at the very edge of the arena, or you'll get baked. Next we have the Roy Rat Authority. Again, another boss that people probably have a bit lower. Maybe like third last, second last, or even dead last. And I hear you, it's pretty damn bad. I should probably actually have a few spots back, actually. It's not as far back because, again, I actually find it pretty easy. And it's an optional area. Oh, no, it's not. You kind of have to go there. Doors of Pharos, I don't know. Which is a decent area. It's a nice spectacle with all the rocks. Again, it's not dead last, or second last, or third last, because I actually find it decently easy. And I've only killed him once, because... Now we have Skeleton Lords. This is actually a pretty decent game for us. Because, again, it's quite easy. Although they're magic, if you give them the chance, that hits pretty hard. And spawning in all the skeleton minions, it's funny as there's watchable, dawdle around. Now we're getting into the decent territory. Next we have Repelling... Oh wow. Oh, I should probably put this one lower as well. Because it's literally just about, 20 basic enemies shoved into a tiny room. Again, it's not very far back like most people would probably put it, because it's easy. Just go in there with a greatsword, I have +10 dark greatsword, and like a 65 strength character, so really easy. Next we have Warrior Vanguard, another boss that people would probably put back a bit further. I have him here because, because yet again, it's optional. And I've only fought him twice. Also not far back, because yet again, like the other bosses, I don't find him annoying. And even on repeated playthroughs. Plus, it's a pretty good soul farm. And now we have what is probably the easiest boss in the game. And behind Pinwheel and Trooping along from Demon Souls, probably the easiest boss in the whole series. The Covetous Demon. Only this high because he's extremely easy and not a pain whatsoever. I've only died to him once, and that was because I had to go eat dinner. Next, the Twin Dragon Riders. Again, a boss that's only halfway through the list. Wow. Because it's really easy to find it that annoying. It's definitely a bad boss, and it's lazy design. They literally just get two of them, give one a bow. It is in what I will say is the best area in the game. Drangleic Castle. Why did I put this high? Anyway, Lost Giant Reskin is another bad boss. There's only like 2 or 3 bosses in this game that I'll actually say are very good and have pretty much no flaws. We'll get to those soon. It ends a decent area, which is the memories thing. I don't know what that's called. I'm going to play DS2 again. And you're just watching people get completely wiped out. And it gives a bit more background on the Lost Giant too. Because you find out that his race is... You get to time travel pretty much to the end of his race, which is pretty cool. Now we have the original Dragon Rider. Again, this high because he's extremely easy. Like, just ridiculously easy. You can stand behind him the whole time and just keep on hitting him. That's literally it. And of course there's the cheese, which is so funny. For a final boss, Nashandra is very disappointing. Because it's not exactly the most well-designed fight. She just has curses around everywhere, which keeps it off you. And when you are far away, she just uses a laser to try and get you, which is damn annoying. And again, you can just pretty much stay behind her and watch your health. You really need to watch your health in this fight. Because the curse. Now that hurts. Bottom line, very disappointed final boss. Another boss I'm surprised I put this high, Scorpionus Nazca. Pretty much exactly like Claylag. Even, looks basically the same. It ends an area that's kind of bland. And the magic attacks are really annoying, especially the one where she only does it when she's directly in front of you. Oh. Then there's the attack where she burrows in the ground, which is extremely easy to exploit. You pretty much just completely run away, and you'll be fine. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Lost Giants. I'm shocked I put this high. This list is all over the place. Anyway, first boss in the game is very easy, just like you'd expect. I actually did find it vaguely difficult on the first playthrough, mainly because I had an awful weapon. The moment I got a half-decent weapon, I killed it after like 4 attempts. Oh, and an actually pretty decent opening cutscene. Alright, the Pursuer. Let's get this out of the way. That cutscene is freaking awesome, bro. Other than that, it's a decent boss. Most people would actually probably put this really high, I've noticed. I saw one guy put it at number 1, and I was like, hold on a second, what? There's, of course, the cheese, which is really funny. We just, wail on him with the giant crossbow in the corner of the room. Oh, it's funny as, bro. Although for its point in the game, it probably is just a hair too hard. Oh, wow. It's starting to get pretty loud outside because of all the wind and the rain. Anyway. Oh, another boss I'm shocked I put this high. Throne Watcher and Defender. Considering it's the second last boss in the game. Really? This should be the final boss. Like, one of them should be Nashandra instead, and then have like a boss with the same mechanics as Nashandra, the second last boss. I, of course, don't have the DLC, so I didn't have to fight, what's his name? Aldia before these two. Decent gank boss. Or, of course, it's just a flat arena, so there's no way to, like, break them up or anything. Lots of flaw I have the Abyss Watchers that I didn't really mention. It can be very hard to get them separated. Now we have... Oh, hang on. I kind of just rushed this list because of how many bosses there's to cover. I suppose I'm being a little biased since Ornstein and Simura is my favourite boss of the whole series. And, we get to fight him again. Especially him, look. Except his armor's kind of brown, not gold, which looks pretty lame. The mechanics are actually pretty similar as well. And it's just a fun fight. Minus the one dark attack, where he just jumps up in the air and then stabs back into the ground and shoots dark magic anywhere. Even though it's a boss that's really high, I don't really have that much to say about it. Here's a boss that absolutely no one will put this high. This will probably be bottom 5 for most people, and that pains me. Because this boss is actually really good. You get the two sides, one with swords and the other one has a battle axe with spikes, that's right. That's a really unique idea, and I wish From Software gave it a go another time. Having someone who's like pretty much double-sided. And on New Game Plus, it does get pretty annoying because the water starts raising. Some paper sounds like a really good way to amp up the difficulty. But the problem is the water raises a little bit too fast. And on repeated playthroughs, it's actually a pretty easy boss. Next, we have Smelter Demon, which might be the hardest boss in the game for me. I don't know, another one we'll get to soon. It's like that. Just because of the timing. And, like, some of these attacks are really slow, some of them are very fast, and he has AoEs and all that. And because of his difficulty, and being optional, I've only killed him once. Great boss, though. Great boss. Now we have the final Lord Soul boss, and that's the first one in the game. The Lost Sinner. This was originally number 1. Until my second playthrough where I fought the actual number 1 again, I think you know what it is. You've played Dark Souls 2. Oh, hang on. Ew. The Lost Sinner, great boss. What does hold it back from maybe scraping to number 2 is that the hitboxes are shockingly bad. Just shockingly bad. You would have already rolled out of the way sometimes, and it will still stab you. It's freaking infuriating. Oh, and there's that one glitch where he would like parry you kind of and throw you to the ground and then stab you, and that's pretty much a guaranteed insta kill. RP playthroughs, this boss is also kind of a joke because it's weak. To be fair though, it is only like the 5th boss in the game, so of course it would be. So I mentioned before that a boss higher than Smelter Demon might be the boss I find the hardest, and that's Belstadt. A lot of people find him extremely easy, which I honestly don't understand. He's in one of the best areas in the game. The, what's that place called? Royal Key? Anyway, great area. Although screw the run up to him, there's like maybe 30 enemies in that room. And they're all just like mages and sellswords. No one needs that. Put like 5 of them there, not 30. I mainly find him hard because much like Smelter Demon, his attacks are normally either really slow or really fast. And he's got the buff when you get him to about 20% health, which makes him hit a lot harder. Hitboxes are bad as well. And when the arena starts to crumble back and get in the way. It's still a very good boss though. It's number 2 out of 27. Oh yes, I mentioned before there's only a couple of bosses that I think are legitimately good. And that is just the top 5. And my number 1, which is the Looking Glass Knight. Ever since my first, maybe second playthrough, I stood by that I think that this is the best boss in the game. Again, the hitbox is pretty bad. Although his attacks are for the most part really good. Like his basic sword attacks, you pretty much know exactly which attack he's going to do every single time, which is great. Even the magic attacks, you can tell which one he's going to do, because one of them he kind of does like a little twirl, and the other one he just flat out stabs the ground. And again, those magic attacks are very hard to dodge. At times I've really considered putting the Lost Sinner of Belstadt higher than Looking Glass Knight, but I recently fought him for the 4th time. Still love it. So that's why the Looking Glass Knight is coming in at number 1.